Next.
Well, hey there, Billy.
Oh, hey, Robert, how you doing,
I'm
buddy?
doing great. How about you?
I'm doing all right. You here to poll up today?
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, we got one of these literacy tests. We need you to take, it won't take too long, so you just go ahead and read that section right there.
All right, section 20. That no person shall be imprisoned for debt.
Good to go, then.
All right,
and right on through this door here, you can find your way.
All right.
Next. What are you doing here, boy?
I'm here to vote, sir.
Oh, is that a fact?
Yes, it is.
You want to vote, huh? Well, you're going to have to read this right here. You can read, right?
Yes, sir, I can read.
We'll see about that. We'll see about that. Go ahead and give that again, your boy.
Section 260. The income arising from the 16th section trust fund, the surplus revenue fund until it is called by the United States government, and the funds enumerated in section 257 and 258 of this Constitution, together with a special annual tax of 30 cents on each $100 bill of taxable property in this state, which the legislature shall levy, shall be applied to the support and maintenance of the public schools, and it shall be the duty of the legislature to increase the public fund from time to time. Therefore, and the condition of the treasury and the resources of the state may justify, provided that nothing herein contained shall be so construed as to authorize the legislature to levy in any 1 year a greater rate of taxation for all purposes, including schools, than 65 cents on each $100 worth of taxable property, and provided further that nothing herein contained shall prevent the legislators from first providing for the payment of the bonded indebtedness of the state and interest thereon out of all the revenue of the state.
Well, now that's 6 mispronunciations. I'm afraid you can't vote here in this precinct.
Sir.
Better luck next time, bud.
We-
That's all there is to it. That's 6 mispronunciations. Numbers don't lie. Have a nice day.
I know you all are used to seeing the stereotypical scene portrayed in many movies taking place in the civil rights period of the 50s and the 60s. The demeaning language, the unfair treatment, and the overt racism. This scene feels like a far cry from what voting is like today. The literacy test depicted in the previous scene is an example of a real literacy test used before the Voting Rights Act of 1965. The registrar would be the sole decider as to whether or not someone was literate and therefore eligible to vote. There were separate tests for white and black voters. But 2016 is different now. We have a black president. The dream of a post-racial society where no bias exists is finally a reality. Or is it?
I'll take whoever's next in line right over here.
God, that line is long. You have no idea how long it's going to get this ID.
Actually, Amber is not exaggerating. You see, Amber doesn't own a car. She takes the city bus to work, so that driver's license that she had is expired. Amber had to get a friend to drive her to the nearest DMV, almost 15 minutes away, and after waiting 2 hours in line and paying $13, she could finally vote. Nationally, African Americans waited about twice as long to vote in the 2012 elections as white people. That's 23 minutes on average versus 12 minutes. Hispanics waited 19 minutes. Neighborhoods whose residents are less than 5% minority had the shortest of all wait times. Just 7 minutes.
I'm finally here. Where do I vote?
Not so fast. Amber thought that she could go to the polling site near her place of work. You know, the one on the way home, where all her friends who believed in their civic duty had early voted.
Ma'am, I've been looking for your name through these rolls, and I'm afraid this isn't your polling site on election day. Did you know you can only vote out of your precinct on like early voting days? On election day itself, you have to vote in your precinct, and this, according to these rolls, you're not on here.
I didn't know this wasn't my precinct. This is my first time voting.
Look, I can tell you that you're not on the list, and if you're not on the list, I can't let you back there to vote. And I'm really sorry about that.
This doesn't make any sense.
Nice try, Amber. You see, Amber used to have the option of filling out a provisional ballot and having the election officials mail it in to be counted with their precinct in the event of a mistake like the one Amber made. But as of the new voting law effective January 2014, This is no longer allowed.
Okay, this doesn't make any sense. What's wrong with this system?
Good question, Amber. In fact, a lot of common sense is no longer allowed. The voting law passed in North Carolina in 2013 eliminated pre-registration of teenagers in public schools, as well as same-day registration at polling sites. Now, if you aren't registered 25 days before an election, you can't vote. Early voting hours have been cut by over a week, and if there are any malfunctions with machines, poll workers are legally unable to extend voting hours to make up for lost time. There are estimates that say that the law reduced a 2014 turnout by 30,000 voters. In other states with similar laws, hundreds of thousands have been disenfranchised by this process. History is often said to repeat itself. As I'm speaking with you right now, new voting laws are disenfranchising millions of voters. A new 2015 law in Texas alone turned 60,000 voters away from the polls. These laws have a real impact on the most vulnerable, and if they don't make voting impossible, they make it so unpleasant that many choose not to go through the trouble. Recently, the Supreme Court has stripped the pre-clearance requirement from the landmark 1965 Voting Rights Act, making it impossible for the federal government to stop restrictive laws. Voting should be as open and easy as possible. No one deserves to have their vote turned into a political game. Racism isn't as obvious or blatant as it was 50 years ago, but the laws in the books today have racial outcomes that we cannot ignore.